Okay, so this is going to be my review on Space Ghost. Not the TV series, the 6-part comic book series from DC Comics, that was written by Joe Kelly and art by Ariel Ovaletti. Hoping I'm saying that last name right. Yeah, first off, this is not like, this is incredibly different from, the 60s TV series. There's no monologuing, there's no like heavy set dialogue of monologues or cheesy dialogue for that matter. It's a very gritty story for such a, campy character. Which in my opinion is kind of a cool idea when you think about it, because this comic book represents everything I wanted to do with the Stormhawks comic. If I ever got a hold of a Stormhawks license to write a comic book series, this is exactly kind of what I'd want to do with it. Make it a little darker and grittier, and show a little more depth to the characters. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I got this actually at a comic book shop when I was at Free Comic Book Day, as I told you guys when I was doing my Free Comic Book Day video. I got this actually 25% off. It actually goes in trade for about $14.99, which is cheap because, DC is actually for the most part kind of cheaper than Marvel, which is a good thing. But it's actually really, as I'm told, it's really hard to find, and I managed to, this was actually the last copy of it they had, so I'm lucky I got it. I understand that Amazon's has it again. It's now resupplied in Amazon, and it's probably the same price, if not lower. But originally, you can't find the separate. It's hard to find the separate issues, as I heard. But you can probably find the trade better off. I'd also like to add that Alex Ross's covers look fantastic. I love Alex Ross's artwork, cover artwork. In this, like anything he makes is awesome. So I really enjoyed the artwork from Alex Ross in here. Now onto the story. This is, like I said, the origin, this is supposed to be the in-canon origin to, if you can hear any background noise, that's my brother talking to someone on the phone. I don't know if the mic's going to be able to pick that up. Probably not. But anyway, yeah, this talks about the origin of Space Ghost, and starts off in part 1. I should also mention this has a slow pickup. It feels more like, if you read the trade, it feels like you're watching a movie of a character. And if they decided to do a Space Ghost movie, I would definitely say, base it off this comic book series, because that would really make a lot of sense. Rather than do it a completely original idea. Now, the origin of Space Ghost is basically his real name. We get his real name, Thaddeus Bach. Yeah, I know, we don't really hear a lot of characters with that name, with the name of Thaddeus. At least superheroes with the name Thaddeus Bach. He's married, about to have a new baby son, and he's a galactic police officer known as a peacekeeper, and he's allowed into a special unit of police known as the Wrath, which actually does a lot of dirty work. They'll kill you without question. So he tries to turn in. He joins the Wrath, and when he sees what they do they shoot unarmed civilians, and they take their weapons and try to cover it up. But Bach sells him out, and they kill his wife and son, baby son, and they launch him out in space half dead. This leads him to this far off planet, which would be known as Space Ghost's future home, and he meets another alien known as Solomon, who actually created all the weapons that Space Ghost made. So, in other words, this is kind of like, I wouldn't say it's more like a Batman story. It feels, if anything, it feels like a Punisher story, in some ways. Like, I wouldn't call it a Batman story, but more of like a Space Punisher, because he does kill people in here, quite a few. And he doesn't. I should also like to mention that he doesn't get the costume. Space Ghost does not get the costume until the end of issue 2. But he's not really known as Space Ghost till the end of the book. Yeah. This also, I'd like to add that this has the first appearance of Zorak, and I gotta say, this version Zorak is a lot different from. It looks a lot different from the original cartoon series of Zorak. This Zorak looks more insectoid and, you know, a lot less different, you know, incredibly different. And it also explains, you know, Zorak as kind of like the, if you know who, if you guys play StarCraft, you guys probably know who the Zerg are. So basically it basically states that Zorak's race, thank you, my mind went total brain dead there. But yeah, Zorak's race is called the Zorthians, and they have a hive mind, meaning that when one person who's known as Zorak dies, another one takes the place of Zorak. So that in some way kind of explains how Zorak kept coming back in the series, and it's probably the only thing we get to a recurring enemy for Space Ghost. And I gotta say, Zorak killed the Zorak's people are bloodthirsty. These people do not screw around. The action here is really good. Ariel Ovaletti's artwork. I'm not much of a fan of Ovaletti's artwork because I just feel like it should be. It feels like more like it should be cover artwork, if anything. But it actually feels kind of like it feels right in here. Ovaletti's art. I actually kind of enjoy Ovaletti's art in here. While I do feel like I'm not bashing the guy, I just feel like his cover artwork. It should be more cover artwork than interior artwork. But Joe Kelly's writing. I love Joe Kelly's writing in here. I love his vision of how Space Ghost came to be. I like how they brought in. They did bring in Jan and Jason here, but they didn't do a lot with them. Rather than just be annoying little kids. That's about it. But the story is pretty good. The action in here is really well told. The story itself, the slow evolution of Space Ghost, it does feel like a movie right here. Like, this could be easily transitioned into an animated movie or a live-action movie. Preferably animated, in my opinion. But yes, this was actually really good. I really wish DC just looked back at this and hey, let's make a Space Ghost comic book series. Because I'm pretty sure that's what Joe Kelly was going for in here. This is just an all-around, you know, fun comic. If you're a fan of Space Ghost, I would definitely say pick this up. I was a fan of the Space Ghost series. I've seen reruns on Boomerang. I love the show. But this just feels like a good. This just basically feels like everything I wanted to do with the Stormhawks TV show, and do it how I want, make it kind of darker but stay true to the show, and it does in some ways. But at some points it doesn't feel canon, but it does tend to tie itself all together at the end, which I was afraid it'd kind of fall apart on. So more or less, yeah, it feels kind of right at the end. Like if you're a Space Ghost fan, you're going to be satisfied on this. It doesn't really. However, my only complaint is that it doesn't really explain the technology of Space Ghost weapons or his other gadgets that he uses. It doesn't really explain them or his ship. It doesn't explain that, which I wish it did. Because the only thing you get is that Solomon, the guy who saved Space Ghost, basically says these are weapons of war and they wiped out my species and I'm the only one left. We don't really know how these things work, how these wristbands work, or the power bands, I guess you could call them, or his suit works. So you really don't get that. And plus, like I said, Jane and Jace are kind of whiny in here. But other than that, really good. And also, I should also mention they don't really mention Blip the Monkey. They do not explore Blip the Monkey in here, which is actually a good thing because that thing was just so freaking annoying in the show. I know he's essential, but still, everyone knows that monkey's useless. That monkey's, you know, annoying. But anyway, yeah, this was all around a good 6-part comic book series. I got this in trade. You guys could probably find it online for the most part because it's probably really hard to find at comic book shops. I just got lucky with this. But yeah, that's more or less my review.